like if Ghost went disco,
Yeah.
our country and western, it just doesn't fit. It was like when I was listening to Rod Stewart lately, him singing country and western. I go, what the heck is this? This ain't Rod the Mod, man. Yeah, I was watching some YouTube on the Ghoul Bangers Ball, those video highlights for the Ghost Tour. Have you watched any of those?
I haven't been. I keep forgetting to watch them. I see the little clips on Instagram.
Yeah, they show the one in Lisbon and Prague. Yeah, Prague. They were. It's too bad. Like I said, it's too bad in some ways that we couldn't have gone because they would have been there interviewing people, and they actually gave away. They looked for some people that they gave away better tickets to better seats at the concert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the tour is almost over in Europe, right? Or is it over?
Oh, it's over. Yeah, they're on like a mini break right now, and then I think like next week they start the U.S. break, something like that.
Yeah. So we got that to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm excited.
When does the Euros start?
About a week and a half.
Oh, really? Just in a week and a half?
Something like that, I think. Oh no, it's not until they don't start until the 2nd of July. Okay. So.
No. Yeah, speaking of Ghosts, I listened to the tracks on the new album, Yeah, I definitely see where people are talking about that 80s vibe on a few of the songs. And yeah, I don't know, man. I got mixed emotions about it for me because it doesn't have that traditional Ghost sound, some of the songs. So part of me is thinking, I don't know if that really fits Ghost. That's kind of like, what would be a good example of it? It's kind of like when Motley Crue tried to go grunge.
Yeah.
The one album they try to do that, it was a total flop. But not that this was for Ghost, because evidently the album is really successful.
Yeah.
But for me, see, now we're getting into that school where you have the original Ghost fans from the early days, that new Ghost. And now Ghost is transitioning into a newer, different type of sound than what they originally. So, yeah, that's one of the things when you kind of grow up with a band. It's like Kiss, and how they were over the last decade of their career compared to their first decade. It's like if you're an original Kiss fan, it's very difficult. Well, to start with, it's difficult to buy into Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer because you just always been a fan of the original Kiss. Peter Criss, Ace Frehley. In spite of all the shenanigans, it's like Van Halen, man. When David Lee Roth, if you grew up with the original Van Halen, then Hagar comes in, it's a different type of sound, and so it's difficult to buy into. Though I was a fan of both eras with Van Halen, not taking that away, but now you're doing that with Ghost. Ghosts are transitioning with a different type of sound, a more pop sound. So if you're an original Ghost fan, now you're thinking, do I really like this?
Am I still with this?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't remember if I used this comparison to you, but when I listened to the album in its entirety, I listened to it just straight through. The comparison, like with what you're talking about, the progression, I used the Kiss metaphor in my mind. I said, this is Ghost Dynasty album.
Yeah.
Because the production is bigger, the costumes are more elaborate, and it's a little more colorful now with the purples and this and that, and it's a lighter tone. I said, this is their Dynasty album.
Yeah.
Where it is that departure it's the biggest departure from their older stuff. And it's like I was telling you quickly, that one song, the Tobias Forge, this was the one where he said, okay, well, let me work with some people writing the songs as equals, bringing some other people in. So he kind of opened up a little bit to some more collaboration, which there's that side of it. And he also said that the whole point of this album was to be more of an emotional album. Each song is kind of supposed to kind of talk about a specific emotion. So it's a different kind of purpose to the album as a whole. I also considered it because it's like you said, Lisa, I don't know. I had that same feeling because the one word that I used to describe it is it's a rather safe album.
Yeah.
There's nothing that, like you showed the video to Lacrima. It's a really cool song. I like this song.
Yeah.
And everything. There's a few songs that I think are really good. And then that song, because they released it as a single, where in that song, there's still kind of those classic ghost guitar riffs, right. A little heavier. And so I remember saying that to you before the album released, listening to the singles. I said, it sounds like they're going to go back to a little heavier sound. I was completely wrong because it's the lightest sound. It does feel quite safe in a lot of ways. But yeah, I don't think there's a bad song on the album, but I don't think that there's necessarily that instant classic song either.
Well, it's just a matter of it fitting the band. Obviously, like if Ghost went disco, our country and western, it just doesn't fit. It was like when I was listening to Rod Stewart lately, him singing country and western. I go, what the heck is this? This ain't Rod the Mod, man. Yeah, singing country. So you I can understand that you're going to progress for sure, but you still I think. And going back to Kiss, that was the problem with Kiss is as they moved further in their career. A lot of the albums that people hated, like Unmasked, The Elder, because then they start veering off too much from what people liked about Kiss, and they got back on track with Creatures of the Night. So Ghost, I think they're going through that phase right now. This is like a TV show where they try to change up the cast. You always got to be, and I think Tobias Forge, I think he's smart about that. And I'm not saying that the album veered off too much from the Ghost sound. I don't think it veered off that much, but I think he's got to be leery that there's a balance. In other words, there's a balance between you're trying to reach a broader audience. I get that, but your core hardcore fans, you got to keep them happy, man.
Yeah.
I think
also, because I'm remembering this, I listened to one interview with him about the album before it was released. He had a bit of a Prince mentality with this album because he said with the last album, Impera, he said, I didn't want to write another Impera. He said that album is there. It wouldn't have been fulfilling to write a set follow-up to that album. So he wanted to write something different. He wanted to do something different. And so you kind of get that sense now where you kind of compare the different albums and they have kind of different themes, different sounds. And it's kind of like I said, it's like this kind of is this thing. Now, whenever they release the next one, what direction will they take that? Will he want to do a follow-up to this, or will he want to do something not radically different, but still just its own separate concept and everything? That's where his mind is, where he wants to be doing these different experiments with each album. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's where it's always dangerous with artists is when they do that. I mean, because a lot of times it happened to Aerosmith when Aerosmith, when they were on, they took that break for a while and then they got back together and they released. Aerosmith had like two eras. I mean, the '70s era, and then and then through the '80s and '90s and so on. But they released one album in between that. I don't know what the album was called. It had the song "When Lightning Strikes."
Stuck in a Hard Place, or
that album is, as far as I know, was a flop for them. They tried to went. Yeah, they went like
Rock in a Hard Place.
Yeah, they kind of wanted to go like a more, it had like a punkish look or something like that with the album, which I like this song When Lightning Strikes. I thought that was a pretty cool song. But the album itself wasn't one of their more notable albums, man. But then they went on to have equally as amount of success in their later albums. So Aerosmith, but even they had that little dip where they go like Motley Crue and so on, man. So I guess it happens with every band, and it's But obviously it wasn't this album with Ghost. We'll see if Tobias Forge, if he can avoid that that misstep with that, like a lot of bands make.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the songs still sound like Ghost songs. It's not like he turned Ghost into a punk band.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's still a Ghost album. There's still Ghost songs. But is it the flavor of Ghost that people want?
Yeah.
That's the question. It's kind of like different flavors of Coca-Cola. They're all Coca-Cola, but do you want the one with lime in it?
Yeah, I think your comparison to Dynasty's was really good, because Dynasty had one of Kiss's biggest hits. Was I Was Made for Loving You. So, and I think this album it's a successful album. It's definitely reached a broader audience. So, yeah, it's just going to be very careful what what he does from moving forward from this album.
And that is the thing with Ghost, because there is, the last three, there's been like a 5-year gap in between albums, but they released those singles or kind of side projects like Kiss the Go-Go and Mary on the Cross. Those were just 2 songs that they released a certain year, and which those were completely different from the album that followed before. But you got these little tastes of kind of different themes. So I'm sure maybe not next year, depending on how long the tour goes, but later next year, they'll release those few songs as a follow-up. Or like when they did We Don't Need Another Hero. That was like 6 songs that they released separately. So yeah, we'll see how long this phase lasts. The other thing that I think about, because for the fans that are picked up because of this album going forward, it seems rather difficult to go back to older Ghost sounds after kind of going, not poppy, it's not pop rock necessarily. Well, some of them, I don't know. To go back to
Monstrous or
Cerise or something like that. They go quite far away. Yeah, some of the songs. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, with Ghost, there was definitely a growth, evolving. With all bands, it's that way. What's it going to evolve into? When we were talking about the Cult. And their first 2 albums, every band's going to evolve, and Ghost evolved into what it is, which is great. I mean, Ghost is great right now. I mean, it's evolved into what it is, and so I mean, when you look at the earlier stuff, I think you got to look at it as this evolving stage. Obviously, it could have evolved into something else, more darker or whatever, but Tobias Forge, thankfully, he didn't take it that way. He took it into a more lighthearted, fun concept, and it worked. So, I think so far it's all worked together. It all jives.
And I will say that because I have my Ghost playlist on Spotify, that when you put in the songs from this last album into kind of a playlist of all the others, what it does is it expands the range of the band, where it all still works. It's all variations. Some are, it's kind of like going from the left wing to the right wing of politics, where technically they're all politics, but they're quite divergent. But it's a nice compliment to everything else, where sometimes some of Ghost, the songs off the first album or two can be quite heavy and everything.
Yeah.
There's sometimes maybe you don't want to listen to the Satan Prayer. Sometimes you want to listen to Peace Field or something. Yeah. But it's all there. Yeah. If Ghost's next album is a gospel album, then we've diverted. We've jumped the ship. But yeah, for now, it fits into everything. To me, this is kind of just the time of Ghost to just have some fun, where the songs are lighter, and just to enjoy the show, kind of.
Yeah, just Tobias Forge. I just hope he just keeps the general concept together. You always have the nameless ghouls. Don't go unmasking the nameless ghouls, because if you start with that, if you did that, you just put up like regular band, then it's totally gone. The image is a big part of Ghost. Yeah. And if like Tobias Forge says, well, I'm just going to take the mask off and I'm just going to go up there and perform the music like Kiss did and taking their makeup off, I go, don't do that.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest mistake in the world for Ghost.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Don't take away the core concept of the band.
Yeah.
We've talked about whenever different artist, band, whoever, when they totally take their work into this other dimension and they get rid of the core concept that made them famous, and it never works. There's no reinvention of a band that has ever kept that level, the previous level. Yeah, it's fine. Experiment. That's cool. It keeps it fresh. You can't make every song to be Square Hammer. Mm-hmm. Square Hammer is cool because it's its own thing. But yeah, there's a DNA that you should just stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope they don't make that mistake. Well, it's all Tobias Forge, his decision. So yeah, just keep the lines of Papa's going, or introduce a new cardinal here and there in between.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that when you think about it, they have toyed around with the core concept, like the Papa was gone for a little while, but it was still this variation.
Yeah.
It was like, so now because they build the storyline, so now we have this cardinal from the the clergy or something. But it's not like they said, the Papas are gone, now here's Steve. Steve is going to sing.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
But yeah, Go ahead.
Very quickly, I happened to catch one of those clips from the Ghoul Bangers Ball in one of the cities, and there was this guy they were interviewing. He said, talking about Kiss. He said, yeah, Kiss fan my whole life and went to shows. He said, but I never did the makeup. He was wearing a full kind of Ghost outfit. And he said, for me, we all have our community here. We all do this and get together. He was essentially saying that it was this elevation beyond what Kiss did for him personally. Don't take that away from those fans. You can't just throw away the costumes, throw away the characters. No.
Well, to start with, Tobias Forge, he isn't an American, so
yes,
he seems to have he obviously he's aware of. I don't think he'll make that mistake.
No. And himself being a Kiss fan, you would think that he would learn from
their mistakes.
Situation. Yeah. total side note, it is going to be interesting because if you go back in the archives of fan film footage at some of the earlier shows from previous years, because it has become a thing with musicians, and we know his position on current things going on in the US. We're going to see how he he addresses that in the shows, because he certainly hasn't held back in some of the previous ones. And technically speaking, since phones aren't allowed, no recording, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, speaking of that, I was watching a video. Somebody must have got a phone in one of their concerts, because I was watching a clip from one of them. Somebody had their phone. Yeah. So
there's always somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always somebody.
Well, what it is, like I said, just like when I was young and my Uncle Pat, he used to let us go in the back entrance to the wrestling matches, and that's what happened. Somebody knew somebody. They said, "Oh yeah, go in," and yeah, exactly. So you're always going to have somebody who's going to have a recording or whatever.
Yeah, and the only reason why I thought about that is because we're seeing them in Philadelphia, which historically for the U.S., the city of independence and the Liberty Bell. I'll just be curious.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. But yeah, with Ghost, it's fun. I'm having fun with everything that they're doing right now. Yeah. Just with the music. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of albums, you never did listen to with the Cult, what was the first album? Dreamtime?
Dreamtime. I was sitting down Monday night, and I was on Spotify. I saw it, and I wanted to do a quick Google about it, and I did, and it gave me shopping options, and I guess you could buy a vinyl and everything. And I got sidetracked because this Monday, whatever it was like World Record Day or something like that. And one of the electronic stores, they were having a sales, like you buy one vinyl, you get like 50% off the second one.
Oh, really?
And so then I was going through and I was looking around, and I was like, that's tough, because some albums you could get for like 10 euros after the sale. I said, no, save the money. But it was difficult to turn down. What was like, Van Halen. Because I only had Van Halen 2. They had Van Halen 1, with the sales like 10 euros for Van Halen 1. Brand new. It's tough. But tonight, yes, because it's on my list, I do want to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to get your take on that one. Because I said before, I was wrong about the album. I think it's a good album, man. So
yeah,
I don't know why I thought that before. Maybe I just never really took the time to really listen to it. But there were some good songs on that album. Yeah, because before we were talking about the top album art, top albums. Mm-hmm. And you have Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon #1 on your...
Oh, of course.
Which a lot of people do, I'm sure. But Dreamtime was a good... Yeah, but it wasn't Love. I mean, Love, like we said before, was the Cult's best album.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were also talking about, with Dreamtime, kind of bands whose first albums were... It significantly worse than kind of what they would go on to make. And I said Dreamtime, and then you followed up and said, no.
Yeah, after
isn't that bad.
Yeah, after re-listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Cult, yeah, they've done songs. I mean, there's not like Cult songs that I think are bad, but there's some of their albums. I think Cole has the same issue like you have with Led Zeppelin sometimes, but I think it's more prominent with me with the Cole, is that some of their songs go a little too long.
I mean, yes.
And what, like,
Yes.
for example, the one song off Ceremony that I really like, this is like Hey Jude with the Beatles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great song, but why do you go na 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 na, go on for 10 minutes doing that?
Uh-huh.
That's what kind of,
Yes.
that's the one thing about Hey Jude. It's a great song, but man, listening to that go on for whatever 6 minutes or whatever, I go, why do that?
Mm-hmm.
But with the call on Ceremony, with Heart and Soul, the song Heart and Soul, I believe that's what the song is called. Yeah, that song goes on too long.
Yeah. Even the song Ceremony itself kind of
Ceremony.
carries on.
Yeah, the song Ceremony, I mean, is a rocking song. I like, if you want to listen to a rocking song, that's a good song. I don't know if it goes on too long for me, not Ceremony that I recall.
Okay.
I think it's just a solid rock and roll song. I love that song because the beginning has the, or no, not at the beginning of that song. I think it's the following song where they actually have the Indian ceremony. You hear that going on. But I just still remember listening to Ceremony, that first song, man. It's a kick butt rocking song.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really knock Ceremony so much, but some of the songs, yeah, just go on too long. Even my favorite song off Ceremony, which is the final song, it's called
Wonderland. I have the listing up right here.
Is it Wonderland?
Yeah. Sweet Salvation is the second.
No, yes, no, it's Sweet Salvation. That's my favorite song. And even that song goes on a little too long.
I'm looking at it right now because it's a marathon album. It's 63.5 minutes long. Yeah. The only two songs that are shorter than 5 minutes is Indian, which is 4:53, and Earth, which is 4:42.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Ceremony is 6.5 minutes. White is 7 minutes and 56 seconds. Wonderland is 6:10. Sweet Salvation's 5:25. I mean,
yeah,
they're long songs. Yeah. I pulled out, I need to redo my Spotify playlist. But I only have 4 songs off of Ceremony, off of mine, because I tried to listen to that album in full, and that's a long 63 minutes of one album. That's a long time.
Yeah, and it's not like it's like if you're listening to Metallica's songs are long too, but with the Metallica, their songs they'll have a lot of variations. And speaking of Metallica, real quick, I was watching because they're touring this summer too, and they put up a video of theirs. One of their concerts, I think it was like in Tennessee or something like that. But first of all, they're showing their age, man. For the first, I said, yeah, Metallica. James Hetfield, he's got a gut now. I go, man. You go and you get to a point. Even their new bass player, I don't know really what his name is.
I forget it. It's like Trujillo's or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's time for them guys to start thinking about. Yeah, it's one thing. Like I said, you just got to keep in shape. You know, I mean, you can be. That's the thing. Like with Paul Stanley and Kiss, it wasn't the fact that because he always kept in shape, like Gene Simmons, but he couldn't sing anymore.
Yeah,
you got to keep the image of the band up. I mean, if you're going to go out on the stage and you're going to have a big old bit, and if you remember Metallica back in the day and you see them like that, it's kind of like, all right, this isn't Metallica anymore, man. If you have a little respect for your legacy as a band, is what I'm saying. This is like Vince Neil with Motley Crue, man. The other members, Tommy Lee, he's always been a stick. And then Nikki Sixx and all that, but Vince Neil years ago. I mean,
he's been that way for like 20, 25 years.
Yeah, if you don't have the look, it's like Kiss. If you don't have the look anymore, you're doing the band an injustice. And for the first time when I was watching Metallica, I was going, man, it's Kirk Hammett and Lars Ulrich. They could kind of still fit the bill. Well, Kirk Hammett, he's always had the long hair and the look, but for Metallica, I think they're reaching that point now where, I mean, they're still selling out arenas and stuff, and I'll give them that. But at some point, you got to think about the legacy of your band. And anyways, but getting back to the point, like with Metallica's songs, when they play, like, that's one thing about like their commercial album when they did the Black Album, when they did Inner Sandman. What was so different about that song compared to the previous Metallica songs is when you listen to Inner Sandman, it's just like that same rhythm, tone, whatever throughout the whole song. It kept the same pace, which was unusual for Metallica, because if you listen to Metallica's early songs, every song has a variation. Like it'll start out with a certain beat, then it'll transition into a different style, and then it'll transition again. Yeah, the songs can go like 7-8 minutes, but it's almost like you're hearing 2 or 3 different songs in the same song. That's the one thing that's unique about Metallica when you listen to their music. Like with Led Zeppelin, we were talking about Led Zeppelin and their long songs, not so much with them. But with Led Zeppelin, they wouldn't, to their credit, they wouldn't go on like the Beatles, like down the same, just endlessly. I mean, which I think that's the problem with the Cult. This is like a knock I had with Jimi Hendrix later on, like Cream from the 60s, is they would just go on playing. And there's no better example of that than your favorite Skip from MST, right? And Crow.
Exactly.
When he was playing.
His guitar solo.
Yeah.
I've always said that. And that's with you. That's my number one thing with long songs. Is it needs to go somewhere.
Yeah.
The simplest way I can say it, like you're saying, if you're like with the Cult, and we've said that with the Love, that's what's really cool about Love and what makes it so unique is that a lot of the songs kind of have that mystic. It's kind of like putting you in a lull. Kind of, with the songs. And there's a few like Brother Wolf, Sister Moon. That's a quite long song, but they have the balance with that song. But then. Yeah, with Hey Jude, you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing over and over again. So it can be a 10-minute song. Like the perfect example I can think of immediately, one of maybe my favorite really long song is New York City Serenade. Mm-hmm. That has that change of pace, it has the change of tone. Or right. Talking about with some of Metallica's songs, it's not just, repetition for 10 minutes. And I'm getting nothing out of it in the last 5 minutes that I didn't already get in the first 5. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Cult, that's a big problem with the Cult later on is they go on too long with their songs, man. Otherwise, they would have just been great songs. Which is there was one knock I had with ELO in some of their songs, like I said, is that they would transition, but to the wrong transition. Go, why'd you put that there? A real good example of that is Glitter with Motley Crue. That song, it's a great song, but what is up with that guitar? What I guess it's a guitar solo.
It's been a while since I've listened to that song, to be fair.
It's like, what in the world were they thinking when they put that in there, man? I don't know, but that was horrible. I was thinking about that scene from in the band when the one guy was talking about when he heard hip hop.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's that purple screeching noise.
And they go, I'm sure when they were in the recording studio, says that's great, that's different. I go, well, it's different.
Different, yeah.
I go, maybe we should put some cowbell in there instead. I think.
Did you appreciate it? To go back to the original band, did you appreciate the ghost song on the new album that introduced the cowbell?
Yeah, what song was that one? That wasn't that.
Is that Umbra? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, if you're going to have a rock band, you got to have a cowbell, man. At some point,
So they open that door.
Yeah, that's an essential. I'll never knock a cowbell, even in. Gosh darn it! Yeah, Don't Fear the Reaper. I mean, it fits it, man. You couldn't listen to Don't Fear the Reaper without the cowbell, man.
Exactly.
It
was Umbra.
Yeah. The cowbell in Don't Fear the Reapers, it still has that eerie tone in it.
It does.
That still fits the song. In fact, I was watching if you watch the Ghoul Bangers Ball, in one of the episodes, I don't know which one it was, she actually is holding the cowbell.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept meaning to mention that to you, that, yeah, they're just kind of playing around with all the different eras now, because obviously it's just the play on the Headbangers Ball. But yeah, they're going back into the media archives. Yeah, they have all of the different on their YouTube channel. They have from Germany, Poland, Amsterdam.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, the chick that's doing the talking in the interview or whatever, she was the chick from the original Headbangers Ball in the 90s.
I kept meaning to look that up. I'm going to do it right now since it's right in front of me.
Yeah, because she would be old now.
Vanessa Warwick.
Yeah.
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 No, she is. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her from the Headbangers Ball. So I was going, oh, yeah, I remember her. So when we go to Philadelphia, we might see them, because apparently they're doing that with all their shows.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, never know.
Yeah, but get back to Cult real quick. They really didn't start that long song until after Electric.
I was flipping through their albums, and you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. After Electric, with Sonic Temple, I don't know if they did too much in Sonic Temple, but a lot of their songs after that, yeah, they just start getting into longer songs. Go, man.
Yeah. Because that's one of my favorite Cult songs is Electric Ocean. It's a short song. It's less than 3 minutes long. Yeah. But it's just a fun song. It's a great song. It's all you need. You don't need that song to be 6 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, comparing Electric, the whole album was 38 minutes and 51 seconds. Sonic Temple went up to 52:23. So, and then Ceremony was 63 minutes. So they almost doubled the album length in 2 albums.
Yeah. So it definitely started with Sonic Temple when they started going to the longer songs. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of Jimi Hendrix in the Experience. But it was those first albums like Cream and bands like that. I mean, a lot of their albums initially were commercial albums like Pink Floyd and so on. And then they started getting into these, like the Beatles. The Beatles did the same thing with their later albums. They would, particularly the White Album and Sgt. Pepper and that. So, yeah, you're always going to have those fans and stuff like that. I mean, with Led Zeppelin, I buy into a lot more than you do, I guess, with their songs, because like the Rain song to me that's a long song, but it's just a nice mellow song that you can sit back and listen to. I think with a lot of Led Zeppelin songs are kind of like that. They'll have their more mellow songs that are just good songs to listen to and stuff. And then if you're really into a rockin' mood, put on Metallica, listening to that stuff. But with the Cult, it just doesn't work, man.
Yeah. Well, the Cult is on tour right now. Interesting.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, here in Europe this month. Just this month.
Or where are they going to be?
Do I take the short flight out on the 27th to see them in Barcelona?
Well, it'll be in Barcelona.
They're in Poznan in Poland right now. Then they're going Latvia, Estonia, Finland, Turku, Stockholm, Oslo, Copenhagen, festival in France, Amsterdam, Brussels, and Barcelona.
Yeah. The cult, though, man. I mean, what's the lead singer's name? Ian
Asbury.
Yeah. He's he's let himself go. It's kind of like we talk about seeing The Cure. Yeah, but it's like Robert Smith. It's like, holy, see him around. He still has the look, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it's just.
But he's let himself go, man.
Yeah. You know.
It's just like, yeah.
It's a different. They're 67 years old now.
Yeah.
It's no shame in that, obviously, but things just change.
Well, that's it. I think it's just a matter of take care of yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Some of these, in fact, I was watching, because I have YouTube Music, they recommend songs. They had a clip from Heart over the last, I think it was a month ago. And Ann Wilson always had a weight problem. But now she's in a wheelchair now. It's just like,
really?
Yeah, it's just like, that ain't the way I want to see Heart.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm a big fan of Heart, but they're a long way from their glory days. And Heart is a lot like Aerosmith. They really had two eras. They had the 70s, and then they had their hits from the 80s. But yeah, for a lot of these bands, yeah, it's you got to know, like Motley Crue, like they did it just right, man. You did it just right. You went out on a high note, even though Vince Neil may have been a little bit past, okay, but you still
made it work.
I think you ended it at the right time, and then you came just like, oh.
But that's what I meant. So, I did look it up. They're just doing their Vegas residency now, Motley Crue. I was curious if they were playing the North Dakota State Fair again. But I can honestly say that there's no band remaining from the classic rock era that I feel the need to see, or I want to see them in that image. Because for me, not growing up in that time, there is still kind of that detachment where it's like, oh, it was this previous era, and they're kind of like historical figures in a way. That it's cool in a cool way, that it was just this different era. It was this golden era of music. And then, sometimes when I look at a picture of them now, it's kind of like, oh, time exists. That sounds harsh. I don't mean it like that. But it's kind of like the Bruce Lee thing, kind of. Bruce Lee wasn't making action movies when he's 80 years old. And then there's the flip side of it, where do you want to be Bruce Lee or do you want to be Jackie Chan? Because Jackie Chan is still making movies. He's doing stunts, and he's like 80 years old now.
Yeah. But
how old is Jackie Chan? 71.
I guess a good comparison is like James Dean. I mean, what makes him such an iconic is because he passed away. Everybody only knows him that he's young. That's the only way people see James Dean. That's why he's such an iconic figure. I think that's the thing with a lot of bands is, in fact, I saw a clip of Robert Plant. He was performing here with his band like a month ago or whatever, or a couple of weeks ago. I go, holy cow, he's showing his age. But he's not with Led Zeppelin anymore. See, Led Zeppelin stands in time because they never got back together. Well, they did for one or two shows after that, but for the most part, Led Zeppelin is this iconic band because you only have that image of them when they were in their glory days. And they went out on top. I mean, you talk about few bands. When John Bonham died, that was it. I mean, they were still at a pinnacle in their career, and so you only have that image of Led Zeppelin as these rock gods or whatever. So, but a lot of these bands, I think the fact that they keep going on, you're seeing them that way, and that's the way people are going to remember you going out. And if I was in a rock band today, like Tobias Forge with Ghost, of course, with them, they can wear masks.
Yeah.
But I think at some point you got to look at your band, go, do we really want to go beyond where we are at this stage? And maybe we should just end the band here and like do some other side projects and go on from there, like Robert Plant did. Both Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. Jimmy Page went on, he did The Firm, that band for a while, and then Robert Plant, he just went on as a solo artist. So, I mean, there was definitely life for the band afterwards. And
Oh, yeah.
the only band that, when you were saying you weren't sure if there was any band you would want to see, the only band I could think of would have been Aerosmith.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was unfortunate how they had to end their touring career. Neither of us are the biggest Guns N' Roses fan, obviously, but I was doing some searching and I saw some pictures of him. And Slash, he obviously has the hat and the sunglasses, so you can't see a lot of him. He has no neck anymore.
Yeah.
He's kind of just, but yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, seeing a lot of bands anymore, I just say, I don't know.
Yeah, the last time I saw Slash, yeah, he was getting a gut and everything as well, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because relatively speaking, they're one of the younger bands. I mean, they started in the mid-'80s.
I think they're about the same age, relative around Metallica. They were with, we were listening to, what was the singer for Love Hate? We were watching that clip with them.
Yeah.
I was Rizzo or something like that. But anyways, yeah. He was talking about that second wave that happened in the LA sound and how Guns N' Roses was part of that. And I think that was kind of like the same with Metallica, because Metallica and Guns N' Roses, they toured together for a while, way back when.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come on.
But the one thing about Guns N' Roses is they had two of the greatest characters in rock history, I think, in Slash and Duff.
Mm-hmm.
Those two guys are just... In fact, that's one reason when I watch Iggy Pop and his song Home, because both Duff and Slash make an appearance in that video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's... And to be fair, it's just a band I've never listened to much of the music. I've just never gotten around to it. I mean,
I don't know, a good 5. They did some great songs. I ain't knocking Guns N' Roses. I mean, Sweet Child of Mine was the first song I heard by them. I mean, that was an okay song. Welcome to the Jungle was a great song. Like I said, November Rain. November Rain may be my favorite song. I really like that. Patience. I like Knocking on Heaven's Door when they redid that song. That was a great song. That they did some good songs. So I don't like Axl Rose as a person. The guy is a jerk, man. I mean, that's the only real gripe I have about Guns N' Roses. Is Axl Rose himself, man. But I'm still not a big Guns N' Roses fan. I mean, I definitely like some of their songs. Their image definitely fit the band early on, for sure.